Call meeting to order. This is the special meeting of the East Lyme Board of Finance on May 28th. Our first order of business is deliberations and action on the proposed 2026-2027 budget. So my proposal is that we go through some of the town budget items, and let's start there. Let's go to budget item 51920 within organization 1059800, the open space fund. My goal in the next series of cuts is to try and reduce the town budget. So some of these items I think you guys will recognize are not huge amounts, but cumulatively, hopefully they'll add to something significant. So for the open space fund, I propose that it's currently at $500. I propose that we cut it by $250. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded to reduce item 51920 by $250. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Next up is is item object 51919, the OPEB Trust Fund. Right now it is at $500. Similar to the last motion, I recommend that we cut it by $250. It would then be at $250. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of reducing the OPEB Trust Fund to $250, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Object 55918, the Coastal Resiliency Fund. Right now it is at $5,000. I propose that we remove nearly all of that and bring it down $4,750 to a total of $250. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to reduce item 55918, Coastal Resiliency Fund, to $250. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 51618, which is, I think PT is part-time wages. Right now that item is at $191,000, not $295 for a building official. I propose we reduce it by $9,880. The new total would be $181,415. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to reduce item 51618, the building official part-time wages, to $181,415. Discussion?
Yes, I'd like to understand.
There's a mic here. Kim? It's on. Just need to put it near you.
Yes, I'd like to understand what comprises that particular object.
Kevin, can you explain?
Okay, so there's one full-time building official, Frank Lathrop, and there are two part-time building officials in this budget. So right now they're budgeted for 18 hours. This would reduce them by 5 hours a week. So together they would be 31 hours a week, part-time building officials for inspections and plan reviews and things like that.
May I ask why we have two part-time people? Like what the rationale for that is?
Most towns have two full-time people. So with one full-timer and two part-timers, you're saving on health insurance
And what type of performance metrics do we have in place to know that we need 2 FTEs?
I would, handle that.
Okay, how do we know we need 2, I think is the question. Do we need 2 because everybody has 2? Do we need 2 because of our volume? Like what drives the justification for 2?
Is this working?
This one, oh, that one does work too.
Is this on? Oh, wait a minute.
It should be on.
This 5,000 applications per FTE, if we're lacking that metric, why would we just not cut that part-time employee from the budget because it's a vacant position?
I can't really speak to the building department, I'll speak to the history of the building department. The chief building official that we currently have was our assistant building official that we had full-time in the budget up until this budget year. So the town did have 2 full-time spots in this budget, and it's this budget year that we've reduced one of those full-time equivalents to 2 part-timers.
But we had 2 FTEs, and now we have 2 FTEs.
We're below 2 FTEs, so 1.7. So it was an FTE, 37.5 hours combined, now they're 32 combined. 31.
Can I speak?
Please.
Oh, okay. As far as I understand it, the building department is a revenue-generating department for the town. People take out permits for rehabs, construction, you name it, okay? To make sure that those permits are done according to code, you need to have the inspectors. And if you don't have them, you have a backup. And then what had happened in the past, we lost contractors willing to do work in East Lyme, and hence a loss in revenue. So we have moved from 2 full-time down to 1 full-time and 2 part-time. It's a reduction. I can't give you the metrics, but I know it generates money for the town.
Motion on the floor is to reduce the building official part-time wages by $9,880. Is there a counter proposal? If not, we'll...
Yes, I would like to make a counter proposal, because I think we have to find places to cut.
Do you need to make an amendment to the existing motion, please?
So Kevin, can you tell me one more time what is vacant right now? For this, in this cost center, in this object? What is
One
the-
part-time building official. In this building department, right?
Yes.
Okay, one part-timer is not hired.
And what is the full-time equivalent? Is it a .2 or .4?
So 37.5 divided by 2, 75, about 19 would be a half-time equivalent, 19 hours, so this is already 16 hours, so this is a .4 equivalent.
So .4 FTE is open vacant
Correct.
position. And the town would always have the ability to contract out for the services if needed, if we had a spike in our volume. So I'm going to make a recommendation that we cut the equivalent dollars of .4 FTE.
You know what that figure is, Kevin?
Yeah, right. $37,440.
37,440. So Kim, you'll need to make an amendment to the motion.
So I would like to amend the motion, sorry, I'd like to amend the motion on the floor to increase the reduction to $37,440.
So currently, the budget item is at $191,295. If we reduce it by $37,440, what does it become, please, Kevin?
$153,855.
153,155?
153,855.
855, thank you. Okay, so your amendment is to reduce the item 51618, building official part-time wages, by $37,440, resulting in a new budget allotment of $153,855. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor of reducing item 51618 by $37,440 to a new amount of $153,855, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so it's 4-2, if I got that right? The motion carries. Next item up is the curator. Right now, the curator salary is budgeted at $27,110. It was explained to me that while the curator provides a valuable service at the museum, and also doing some grant writing, there is very little use of the museum, and so I'm proposing to reduce this by half. So the $27,110 would become $13,555. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to reduce item 51620, the curator, by $13,555 to result in a new budget amount of $13,555. Discussion, please.
I guess I'd like to understand, in cutting this individual's salary in half. I'm assuming that'll reduce the hours in half. What will that person do with the hours left?
Well, the hours left would be, I guess, keeping the facility open for drop-ins. I believe that's the case, and also continue the grant writing work that she already does.
And how many, do we have a statistic on how many grants this person has written and?
I don't know the answer to that. Might you know that, Dan? Kevin?
I know she's received at least 4 during my tenure. So I don't know how much she's applied for, but she's definitely still.
I can just speak to that she won a $30,000 grant just recently. So.
Thank you for that. All right, so the motion on the floor is to reduce the hours of the museum curator to half and reduce the salary to $13,555. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
501, that motion carries. Museum programs, right now allocated at $2,000 with the reduction in time spent at the museum, proposing cutting that by half to $1,000. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. This is object 56115 within the 1054160 organization to cut museum programs by $1,000 for a new total of $1,000. Discussion, please.
How many programs will we be able to run with $1,000? Does anyone know?
Do we know how many we run with the $2,000?
And Chris has just mentioned that she gets $30,000 from a grant.
$1,000, maybe you can run 3 or 4 programs. Depending on the cost, anything vary from $200 to like $500.
And I guess the larger question is who attends those programs? Like, do we have statistics on the number of attendees that show up at museum programs?
I don't know.
Does anyone? So I would like to amend the motion. Sorry, I would like to amend the motion on the floor to reduce the museum programs to 0.
Okay, this is 56115, cutting museum programs from 2,000 to 0. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to cut museum programs from 2,000 to 0. Discussion, please.
Yes. The programs that are run there could serve cooperatively with the school system. They teach a lot about enslaved people. They teach a lot about the history of East Lyme. They give a much more well-rounded view of the world. And I think beyond the $1,000, the grants that she has pulled in, she can run programs and the schools can make very good use of it. You have the middle school, Lily B, just across the road. And they would make wonderful, inexpensive field trips that would be very valuable.
Thank you. So the motion on the floor is to cut museum programs from 2,000 to 0, and that's an amendment to our previous motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor of cutting from 2,000 to 0, item 56115, museum programs, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. All those abstaining? The motion fails. Let's go back to our original motion, which is to cut by $1,000. That's legal, I can do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So right now, the older motion that's back on the floor is to cut museum programs from $2,000 to $1,000. This is item 56115. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Kim?
I voted aye.
Thank you very much.
I'm for all pets right now.
Thank you, thank you. So that motion carries. Preservation, collection, care, object 56116, also within the 1054160 museum budget. Because we're cutting the curator time by half, proposing to cut this from $2,000 to $1,000. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded to cut item 56116, preservation, collection, care expenses from $2,000 to $1,000. Any discussion at all?
Yes, I would like to make a comment that if our curator is able to secure grants, I do think that those grants should be able to cover our museum programs and our preservation collection care expenses, so I'd like to amend the motion to bring it from $2,000 to zero.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to amend the previous motion to take the preservation, collection, care expenses 56116 from $2,000 down to zero. Additional discussion, please? Do we in fact know it's true that the grants can cover this expense?
We don't know.
We don't have any information on the grants.
Any sense, Dan or Kevin?
I don't really want to speak to what's eligible for the grants that she got. I know she did receive one recently, but I don't know the exact name of the grant guidance. So I don't want to say yes or no on that. So.
I would think, and I'm speculating out of my naivete, that you need to include that item as a budget item of the grant request. That's how grants usually work, right? So unless the request is made within the grant, then she wouldn't have that ability to do what you were saying. But I suppose for future grants, that request could be added in. Again, I'm talking out of naivete.
It just depends on what the guidelines and the scope of the grant is.
Yeah.
So she is, I mean, I don't know, I'm just trying to give you some sort of dialogue, right?
Thank you.
We have some sort of context.
Yeah.
When the families goes for opioid or what have you, it has to go and fall within certain guidelines. So yes, if she's putting in grants that are museum focused, right? It would have parameters on it that I would think that she would be able to utilize for teaching and that type of thing.
Yeah, I think you're agreeing with my speculation, so thank you for that. So right now, the amended motion on the floor is to take preservation, collection, care expenses from 2,000 to zero under the pretense that it can be applied for by grants if it's specifically delineated. I think if I got that right. Any further discussion? All those in favor of reducing item 56116 from 2,000 to zero, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions? Motion carries 4-2. That goes to zero. Thank you. Item 53022, transcripts. Right now the budget is, this is within the 1054139. Can you put that on the screen, please, Kevin? We're in the legal category. Right now, the budget item is at $7,500 for transcripts. The proposal is to potentially reduce it by $2,500 to a total of $5,000. Kevin, can you maybe, before we even make the motion, explain, please?
So when the town is in a lawsuit or some litigious situation, usually meeting minutes from those meetings, like usually zoning and planning, those meetings have to be transcribed usually by a third party, and then they're submitted to, I think, the court every Tracy, Town Attorney, do you agree with that assessment? Just yes or no? Yeah, right, you agree with there? Yeah. So just, we sell out to a third party to transcribe the meeting minutes and submit to.
So I could speak to that better, if you don't mind.
Thought I did a good job on that.
Take that one, that's good.
Kevin did a great job. What I can speak to is that more and more, we do have to provide transcripts to the court and submit them to the court every time there's a land use appeal or a water and sewer appeal. But I'm finding it's okay more and more to have AI do the transcription. So I would say that a reduction in that number could be appropriate.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation. It's very illuminating because I use AI, or I work all the time to transcribe our meetings. So I guess I'm wondering, Kevin, whether we can go deeper than something like that.
So just this current year, we haven't spent anything. That line, the prior year, we spent $12,000. So it's kind of cyclical depending on the deal, so.
But if we ask them to use AI, Microsoft to open other AI programs are readily available. So could we cut it, and I don't know what the right number to cut it is, by 75% and something like that? Go to say 1750?
So last time we did it was about $1,000 a meeting. So each one was $2,000 at $5,500. So we have to do 2 appeals.
Okay. I mean, I wish there was more science behind this. I'm sorry that we have to sort of guess, but I think that it seems like the right ballpark to me. So I'm going to entertain a motion that we reduce item 53022, transcripts from the legal department, currently at $7,500, cut it by $5,500 down to $2,000. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to cut item 53022 from 7,500 down to 2,000. Discussion, please. All those in favor of cutting transcripts to a total of $2,000, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next up is salary contingency. This is object 55917. Right now this is set at $300,000. Sorry, my mom is calling that. Proposing cutting this by $40,000 to a grand total of $260,000. Kevin, can you explain, just so we're all super duper clear, the way salary contingency works, please?
Yeah, so the town has 3 union contracts, negotiations right now, all 3 public safety contracts, dispatch, fire, and police. 2 have been ratified, not ratified. Ratified, there's 1 more to go, so that's why this number has been able to be shaved down. So what will happen is the majority of this money is now allocated. So after July 1st, there'll be an appropriation to move that money to the 3 respective departments when the contracts have been ratified. So it's just a practice of collective bargaining to kind of keep money set aside as opposed to putting it in the line item.
So I think the rationale behind our ability to cut this item now is that we have achieved 2 of the 3 union contracts, and based on the outcomes of those, we now believe we don't need that extra funds.
Correct.
To a portion. So the motion that I'm proposing is $40,000 reduction in item 55917. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded to take 55917 from $300,000 down to $260,000. Discussion, please.
I guess it would be helpful to understand if the current collective bargaining unit agreement is at a point where there's any ability to forecast what the change in salaries are going to look like, and if this number is relative to where we're at in negotiations?
If
or-
I might,
Please.
yeah, so we're still in negotiations.
Mike, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And one thing I'll say, next year, the salary contingency number, we won't have a union contract, there'll be nothing in salary contingency. That's just a
That's nice to hear.
Okay, so because there's still negotiations, it would be inappropriate to discuss any details of negotiations and potentials, so I would ask that we avoid those questions while we're still negotiating.
Dan, with all due respect though, like, we don't, $260,000 is a lot of money, particularly when we're trying to work on the budget. So I do appreciate that, but, can we take it down to 200,000 and run a little bit of a risk that maybe the negotiations don't resolve the way we want them to?
I don't think that would be helpful or appropriate for the benefit of the town in the long run. I think that would be, I think we have to hold on. I mean, we were able to identify 40,000 that we feel confident, but we don't know the balance yet. So until we do, we really need to be conservative.
Okay, so the motion on the floor, thank you, Dan, is to reduce salary contingency item 55917 within the 1054800 budget from 300,000 down to 260,000. Any further discussion?
I guess I would just like to make a comment based on my experience in dealing with collective bargaining units, is that by the town publicly carrying $260,000 in its budget, it's sending a message that we have that money available for negotiations. I don't think that that is the right strategy for our union negotiations, and I actually would like, I would like to change the motion to bring that down to zero, and should the town have a result from the union negotiations that causes a salary increase, that we then look within the town and the existing budget to fund that. This is signaling that we have $260,000 to enter into negotiation with. That is not the position we want to go in with. So my motion on the floor is to take object 55917, salary contingency, down to zero for a savings of, I believe, 260,000?
It would be a full $300,000 savings.
300,000?
Yeah, so is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, please. So I would like to understand more about the risk that if we were to reduce this item to zero, what risk does that put the town in, and can we do what Kim is suggesting in terms of dealing with it later?
So I'll just address the first part of that question. So we currently budgeted police, fire, and dispatch at a 0% raise. So whatever their union contracts settle on right now, fire and dispatch both settle on 3% raises this year. So that would have to be absorbed, and that townwide contingency number there, we probably use it to the spending kind of increase July 1st.
So that, I'm sorry, that leads me to go back to my question. What is the 3% increase for the police? Is it the 300,000?
So that 300 or $300,000 number is the amount for all contractual changes in the contract, health insurance, retirement, salaries. So if, the fire and dispatch when they're settled, so we go through those numbers, and that would just tip the hand to the one union contract left, to tell them how much we have allocated left.
And I want to go back to my second question, please. If we were to reduce this item to zero, what would be the source of funding should we need it for salary contingencies for later?
So we would definitely need it July 1st. in that amount, if we cut personnel contingency to zero, we would take it out of townwide contingency, and that would be about $10,000 short.
Can we see your amendment?
Yeah, so let me just comment. Kevin, you said we would be $10,000 short in the town contingency budget?
Well, just, so we would need about 260,000, my projections, and townwide contingency is 250. So, the line 55916 is for all other, for everything besides salaries.
All right, so where are we? Any further discussion of this?
Yeah, so I would like to amend the motion.
So wait. You have to, I think, withdraw your amendment.
I will withdraw my motion.
And you have to withdraw the second.
Withdraw the second.
Okay, so you can now amend freely.
So knowing that we have the town contingency of 250 already in place, and we're expecting, it sounds like that we would need 260, and we want to make sure the town has a little bit more cushion. I would like to make the motion that we take our salary contingency down to 150,000, leaving 150,000 in the account after the reduction.
Is there a second to this amendment?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. So, everything I'm hearing as a non-salary negotiation expert seems to support that that's a reasonable approach.
Or take the town contingency down, one of the two.
Anybody else have comments or questions about this? All right, so the amendment on the floor is to amend item 55917, which is currently set at an allocation of $300,000 down to an allocation of $150,000. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Sandra, who are you?
Abstain.
So it's 3, 2, 1, the motion carries. Next up, police overtime. There's been discussion at this meeting and at previous meetings that with the additional police officers that have been supported in the existing budget, there could be reductions in police overtime accommodated. And so right now, the police overtime budget is $500,000. And so Kevin, I'm going to want you to describe please what's been used last year, for example, so where things had to go and what you're anticipating spending this coming year. So my proposal is to reduce that police overtime budget by 5% or $25,000, so the new allocation becomes $475,000. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to take item 51645, the police overtime, from $500,000 to $475,000. Discussion, please.
So I have made public comment on this at our various meetings. Our police department runs at 20% overtime, which I truly believe is a reasonable.
I'm sorry, is everybody hearing okay?
If you did it 37 instead of 25.
My apologies.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out. Go ahead, Counselor.
That's okay. So I believe that with our police department running 20% overtime, that is reasonable. But I would look maybe for the chief to comment, if we can absorb this 25,000.
We can make adjustments and improve that.
Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion? Motion on the floor is to take Object 51645 within the 1054201 organization budget, police overtime, move from 500,000 down to 475,000. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Let's move to firefighter overtime. This is Object 51630 within the 1054205 budget. Right now, the allocation is $705,899, and a 5% reduction, which is what we just did with the police, is what I'm going to propose. Similarly, as most of you probably know, we have supported additional firefighters within the request, and those additional firefighters I'm hypothesizing should be able to be used and not require quite as much firefighter overtime budget. So my proposal is to go from $705,899 down to $650,000 even. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to take item 51630 within the firefighter overtime budget, 1054205, $705,899 down to $650,000. Discussion, please.
Yes, a question for Kevin, please. With the reduction of double time on the weekends to 1.75, is it? Okay. Is that included within this latest figure of overtime?
The initial budget incorporated 1.5% overtime. That's why it's down from 1 million to 705,000.
Okay. Okay. And I think it was mentioned that we've got a firefighter that's returning from deployment in the near future.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's my recollection also.
Yes.
Someone came back on medical leave. So I don't think we're on 4, we're on 3 now.
Okay.
Further discussion of this item?
And I would like to remind the committee members that our firefighter overtime right now is 50% of the salary. So I do not believe that a 5% reduction is enough. If our police are able to run it now 15% overtime, I would think our firefighters should be able to run, I would say at least at 30% overtime. Unless there are some facts that can be presented.
Mr. Chairman, if I could share my screen for a second?
Please, thank you.
Three models that the town was working through this year. So let me just go up here, bear with me for a second. So we can see. So the current modeling, okay, so we have 12 firefighters with the new schedule that was rolled out last year, right? We have every day there's 24/7 coverage of the fire departments. We have 3 fire departments in town, but you only have 4 firemen on a shift. So you have 2 firemen in Flanders, you have 2 in Niantic, and Station 2, which is down by Rocky Neck, is empty. There's no firemen there. So the plan is, the long-term plan is to get the town to 18 firefighters, 2 in Flanders, 2 in Niantic, 2 in Rocky Neck fire station down there. Right now, we have a minimum manning of 4. So when you have a firefighter out, we're filling that shift on overtime. We currently have 4 firemen down. We have 12 firemen. We're down 33% on firemen. Those 33% of shifts are being filled with time and a half. Okay? So that's why it's overtime. I mean, this number here, overtime's $1 million. We're going to be within $5,000 of that. All those shifts in yellow are what we're filling right now on overtime. On Saturdays, it was double time. Now, updated, when you add 3 firemen, you drop overtime by $270,000 because minimum manning is still 4. So when someone calls out or someone's sick, you do not have to call someone back on overtime. Does that make sense? Right, that's with 5. So that would essentially give you 2 in Station 2, 2 Flanders, 2 Niantic, 1 in Rocky Neck. You can't really leave the firemen by themselves, right? There's NFPA standards on this. There's been instances where firemen literally have a heart attack and the fire station and there's no one there to support them, someone calls in, they're not coming, they're dead in the fire station. So that's why there's a two-man kind of requirement, two-person requirement, right? So that's with 15 firemen, they'll put 5 on shift. Ideal goal, staffing here is long-term, 18 firemen, 6 on a shift. With that 6 on a shift, look what happens to the overtime. It drops to almost half of what a staff of 12 does. Reason being, you are not filling anyone that takes a vacation or sick time or military leave. You have 2 people that can be out every day before you have to call someone in to fill the mandatory 4 spots, right? So just wanted to walk through this kind of modeling. It's taken me 3 years to figure out. But I know it says 2X, but we just, within the last week, union contract ratification, Saturdays are now time and a half.
All right, thank you for that explanation. That's pretty clear. All right, so the motion on the floor is to reduce the firefighter overtime budget from $705,899 by $55,899 to a grand total of $650,000. Any further discussion? All those in favor of reducing item 51630 down to $650,000, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right. Thank you for walking through all those town operations cuts, everyone. Let's move to cash capital. Kevin, can we go through that item up, please?
Typical capital.
So I'm correct in assuming that by statute we are permitted to make adjustments to this item, correct?
Cash capital?
I'm asking.
Yes, yeah, the only thing we're not allowed to touch is the revenue side. Expenditure side we're allowed to touch, only revenue we're allowed to touch is revisions to state revenue.
Okay. The cash capital is currently at, can you highlight that line?
Sorry, hold on. I got a bigger screen. Okay. So right here in the bottom right corner is how we reconcile cash capital. So right now, entire capital projects of the town, $5,142,275. Bonds will pay for $4,336,126. Cash capital will be $806,149. Of the cash capital, $1.1 million, only $286,000 is actually town cash capital. $520,000 is LoCIP funds, that's grants from the state, and then $298,951 is lease payments. So if we want to potentially reduce this, this $182,000 Board of Ed capital, and then these smaller items up here are what we can move. These items is 250, 220, and 50 are LoCIP grant funds, so they have to be paid for in cash.
Okay, and if we reduce by some amount, you can distribute it across the different items, or you have to allocate to a specific item.
So there's 2 things you can use that. So whether you're talking about reductions of actual capital projects, to reduce the capital projects amount versus shifting funding sources from cash to bonding, right? So it's a kind of a two-sided question. Like, are you looking to move money from kind of a bond or a cash project into a bond to reduce the cash capital?
No, so thank you for clarifying that. So the other night on Tuesday, we cut $745,000, I believe, from capital projects. I've got that right.
Yep.
So I think that my proposal tonight is going to be not to further cut capital projects, but to move from cash to bonding, a grand total of $100,000.
Okay.
And so that's my proposal. Is there a motion to reduce cash capital by $100,000?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to take cash capital, which is item 57300, the 1054900 budget from, is it 825? From whatever it is up there behind me, down by 100.
You just say from 1.1 million to 1 million.
1.1 million to 1 million, that's what I should have said. So It's been moved and seconded to, has it been moved and seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Seconded.
Sorry, I'm getting tired. So it's 1.1 million down to 1 million, cash capital, and discussion, please.
Kevin, I just have one question, and I apologize if this is a repeat. Are we allowed, do we have to use cash capital to match the LoCIP funds?
So, those LoCIP funds are straight LoCIP dollars revenue. So if you go to real quick, if we go into the revenue side of our budget, everybody, and you go to intergovernmental revenues, the LoCIP funds are right here. So if we reduce that, you would just be effectively, you'd have to reduce this revenue piece, right? Because you can't collect 520,000 of entitlement LoCIP funds are specifically for local capital improvement projects. That's what local LoCIP stands for. So if you reduce any of those at 220 to 250 to $50,000 project, you have to come back into this line and reduce it and have the division of state revenue.
All right.
Very
Thank you.
safe.
So it's really, we're receiving in revenue that we're expensing.
Correct. Yeah, there's no, the town, those three projects that equate to 520,000, the town does not have to pay anything out of, it's 100% state funding for those three projects.
Because they're, can you hear me? Yeah. Because they're revenue, you cannot play with those. Since that's a grant, you can't reduce it. Okay.
So, Kevin, I have one more thing I was hoping you could help resolve. So after the first public hearing, when we had our board deliberations, I believe, and this is where I need a memory refresher, we had a cash capital amount of $1,364,000 and change.
Yep.
That's correct.
1,362,951.
Okay, I was a little off. And I believe what we did, what we voted on that night as a board, was taking from the fund balance the funds to cover that cash capital. Is that correct?
Correct, yep. So if we go to, the use of revenues on the town side here, revenues, use of fund balance on here, we increased it from 1 million to 1,362,951. And that was after the second public.
Okay. And then are we still carrying in the operating budget of the town a $1 million use from the fund balance?
Use of fund balance is now 1,362,000.
So we've got a million covering operating costs and $1.3 million covering capital?
Nope. So when you think of, it's only one tranche, right? So you have the revenue side, use of fund balance 1,362,951. That exact same number is also the cash capital number, right?
The night we did that
Yes,
we
correct.
married the two.
Correct. But with advice of legal counsel,
Understood.
we can't go back and revert.
Right. But here's the point I want to make. I think when we voted on that, we as a board were committing to funding our cash capital with funds from the fund balance. I believe that was the intent of that discussion and that vote. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is we have now brought down our cash capital to 800,
1.1 million.
but that includes the LoCIP funds.
Correct. Yep. And it's always included the LoCIP funds.
Okay. So we have some wiggle room there because there's 200,000 roughly at play there. Because we had committed as a board to that 1.3 number and our cash capital has been brought down to 1.1 million. So where did that 200,000 go?
The 200,000 is offsetting operating.
It's offsetting operating.
Yeah.
And and I want to take it a step further. Whose operating dollars is it offsetting? The town or the Board of Ed? Or just the whole budget in
We're all
general?
married. One big happy family.
We're all married.
So when I just look at the budget, so it doesn't really, I don't have this bifurcated by this is covering the Board of Ed, this is covering the town. It's just kind of here's your total expenses, here's your total revenues. So if we want to dive in and see where that number is, it's sitting this $1,422,000. The other $60,000 of that, so it's $1,362,951 use of fund balance. The other $60,000 is money we received from the ambulance association to rent out bays to fire departments. So yeah, you can definitely see that number is offsetting tax collections, right? So now that we've reduced, we have to vote on it, but the cash capital, you can see right here, is now $1 million. So, the difference there, the I'd say 362,000 of use of fund balance is offsetting operating, no longer capital.
You good?
Thank you for that clarification.
All right, so the motion on the floor is to reduce cash capital by $100,000 from its current 1.1 million, so it'll be $1 million. It's item 57300 within the 1054900 budget. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-1. Can you bring us to the deputy EMD budget, please? 51619 within the 1054223 organization. So right now this is 82,442 allocation. And if we were to eliminate this position, emergency management would still require management. So we could just eliminate it if there isn't really a director. We would have to eliminate it and allocate a stipend. I believe that would probably be go to the police chief. Have I got that reasoning right? I'm asking.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay. So my proposal is going to be to reduce the deputy EMD item, which is 51619, within the 1054223 budget, currently at 82,442, down to 0. And then I'll make a subsequent motion to support directorship of the EMD department and allocate that, if we're allowed to the chief for some lesser amount. So my entertained motion is to cut 82,442 from deputy EMD. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, move to second. Discussion, please. I've discussed this with town officials and the management of emergency dispatch can be handled as it was, I believe, at least partially previously. There was an allocation to the previous police chief for this item. And then there was sort of, forgive me for using the word, redundancy of management by the deputy EMD chief. So I don't believe we're increasing risk or causing mismanagement of this service, but I want to make sure that I am not misunderstanding. Anybody have a different view? Dan, would you like to comment?
It's a necessary position. Yeah, I mean, emergency management is a necessary position. It remains to be seen who is appointed to be the EMD. Right now, we have an acting EMD. And I mean, this is a very difficult decision, and this position has value, and I think we need to consider that.
Yeah, I absolutely recognize managing the department has value. I guess my thought is there a way that it can be achieved and save the town a significant amount on a salary? So, any further discussion? Anybody? Okay. Moved and seconded to take item 51619 within the 1054223 budget, the deputy EMD salary from $82,442 down to zero. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions?
Abstain.
The motion carries 411.
You're welcome for 19 years of dedicated service, people. Thank you.
The next item is, what we'll need to do is to make an allocation to cover what we just did. Can you point out how we do that, please?
That was line 51619, so it sounds like we wanted to put a statement in for the directorship spot, so that would be 51618.
Yes, and the amount that was discussed with me was $24,000, is that correct? Okay, so I'm going to entertain a motion that we reallocate funding to the director's salary with the intention of moving it toward the police chief. I don't think I can say that.
I would say police chief, I would just say towards the end, director's salary.
Okay, but we would legally be able to use it in that way.
As a board of selectmen, I think the points are, I don't think the board is perfect.
Appreciate the help, thank you very much.
According to our charter, it's within the purview of the Board of Selectmen to appoint the emergency management director.
Okay, so all we do is make an allocation, and then after we make the allocation, the Board of Selectmen would decide how to use that allocation.
That's correct, because we have to have an emergency management director. It's just who fills that role. That is up to the Board of Selectmen.
Understood. Thank you for that clarification.
Yes.
So, have we moved and seconded it yet? We haven't moved and seconded it yet. So I'm entertaining a motion that we add 24,000 to line 51618, which is within the 1054223 budget of emergency management. It would go from 0 to 24.
So moved.
Moved and second. Discussion, please.
Yes. If recollection serves me, that stipend had come as part of the grant that we get from Millstone each year. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So it essentially comes as no cost to the town, but somebody needs to take the role, so there is a stipend for that. Am I correct in my memory?
Maybe I should answer that, Mr. Steele. I do not recall that, and I've been around for 40 years.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong, but I have no memory of that. I just know that by state statute, you have to have a deputy, a director of emergency management, and that it has always been the police chief since I've been here.
Right.
But I do not know if this town receives a grant for that.
It's called the Nuclear Safety Emergency Planning Grant. They pay for about 25% of the emergency management director's salary with benefits.
Okay, so there is a little bit of an offset.
Correct.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Motion on the floor is to add $24,000 to item 51618 of the 15423 budget to support direction of the emergency management department. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next up is, I hate this, that is a reduction in the increase for non-union employees of the town. Right now, all non-union employees in town are, in the budget that we previously voted on, have a 2.75% increase for next fiscal year. I'm proposing that we reduce that to 1.75%. That would result in a savings of, if we remove the deputy EMD cabinet, which is on this list, it's about $32,000 grand total. But I'd appreciate it to pass, so I got it right. So the motion I'm going to entertain is that we, and I spoke with town council about this before the meeting, so that we don't have to go through line by line every single town employee who gets a salary adjustment. I think so long as we list in the motion who the employee functions are that are impacted by this reduction in the increase, then we can do this in one vote.
31,987.
31,987, thank you, Kevin. Okay, so I'm going to read them. First selectman assistant, treasurer, finance director, deputy finance director, assessor, tax collector, HR director, IT salaries, town clerk, registrar of voters, planning director, conservation officer, zoning official, police chief, executive assistant to police chief, fire chief, deputy fire marshal, animal control officers, PW non-union wages. I don't know what PW stands for. Thank you. I should have known that. COA director.
Commission on Aging.
Commission on Aging, thank you. I know the next one. YFHS, Youth and Family Health Services Director and Park and Rec Director. Each of those salaries is currently a 2.75% increase for next year. I'm proposing we go to 1.75, and that's a grand total of 31,987 in cuts. Is there a motion? Okay. Thank you for considering my suggestion. Are there any other discussion any board member wishes to make about the town operating budget before we move to board of ed?
Yes, I spent some time reviewing the town budgets and...
Can you just get closer to the mic a tiny bit, yes?
Sorry. I spent some time reviewing the department budgets and the percent increase changes. And our IT department is at an 18.7% increase for I'm rounding up 135,000. We had multiple presentations from our IT director, and I believe that there are savings to be had in that budget, and that the town needs to move quickly to drive some reductions in telecommunication costs and in other areas. So I would like to recommend, and Kevin, I'm going to need your help on the math, but I would like to bring that increase down to 10% from 18.7.
Can you please bring up the IT?
What number? 10% you said?
Sorry, the amount of change,
Which line item, please?
I'm looking at, it doesn't have
Here,
numbers.
pass it.
102.
Right now it's 18.67 for the whole town. Are you looking for, can we do for individual lines or is that?
I'm looking at the whole budget.
Overall, okay, so what do we do?
The whole budget.
What's that?
Guess and check. So you'd have to cut approximately $62,500. Okay.
And this is just a global cut,
Yes,
which we're not allowed to do.
which we're not allowed to.
We can make individual line item cuts.
About $62,400.
So I have to find line items in the budget.
So, I don't know. Kevin, do you have a suggestion for where Kim's suggested cut belongs?
I can pull up the itemized list here and.
That'd be helpful.
IT does
Can you do that?
Is other IT services in town? That's line 97.
You want to start with the line item and see what's left? So,
Can you put where's like the telecom expense for voice and data expense? I mean, we have the example of the library that has a $1,000 a month phone charge, I think it was mentioned. Like there's, so let's, so if I have to do this by line item,
You don't have to from within what's on this spreadsheet from line 50 or so on. You just have to go back to, say, 97 other IT services town, which is currently, what, 189,610?
so just so we have for the record, majority of town telephone lines have been consolidated into this line. So that's why you saw it jump from 26 to 42. All the other departments have given up their telephone lines and consolidated 19.
I withdraw my motion. If I have one.
Yeah, I don't think there was a motion. Any further discussion on IT, Kim?
No, I guess I'll leave it.
Okay. Are there other items from the town budget anybody wishes to bring up from the town, from the board? Okay, let's move to Board of Education funding, please. I think it goes without saying, I appreciate all the comments we heard from the school community tonight, students, parents, teachers, staff, and of course, Jeff. I think one of the central themes I heard repeatedly was the state funding of $243,060 that we moved out of the Board of Ed budget at our Tuesday meeting. I know why we did it. We did it trying to find ways to reduce the mill rate so that the town budget could be more balanced. I guess suggestion I might have for our consideration tonight is that we restore that $243,060 to the Board of Ed budget.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded twice, which is awesome, to have the Board of Ed budget to go back up by $243,060. Kevin, can you bring that up? Show us what it would become if we made this change?
Back to the cut in the increase would go down to $362,951 after the referendum.
And so the new budget becomes $65,926,885, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to restore $243,060 to Board of Education expenditures, giving them a allocated budget of $65,926,885, a 4.26% increase compared with last year. Discussion. Anybody?
Yeah, I'll go. I know the audience throughout the evening had mentioned that we go through line items on the town side. By law, we're not allowed to do that with the Board of Education budget, but we do look through the budget book. We do go through line by line, and we try to see areas that would be the least impactful to students. The superintendent, when he comes to these meetings, presents a preliminary list of ways to meet a new budget total. I would hope that, and I don't know if it's at all humanly possible, but to look at other items beyond direct student services and beyond personnel. I don't know if it's achievable, but that would be my desire. Because we've heard from people, we've heard the importance of teachers. I know the importance of education. My children benefited from the system. But again, as people told us to sharpen our pencils, I would hope the school board could sharpen their pencils as well and try to find ways to meet this challenge.
Other discussion on this? Okay, motion on the floor is to restore Board of Education funding of $243,060. That's item 59995 within the 1054700 budget. That gets us back up to $65,926,885. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Is there further discussion of the Board of Education budget?
Yes, I would like to make a motion, sorry. I would like to make a motion to restore the $362,951. I believe that was the cut, the adjustment to the Board of Education budget.
Is there a second? Is there a second to Lauren's motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded to restore $362,951, which would then bring us to $66,289,836, or 4.84% increase compared to last year. Discussion, please. We had done, and the directionality of the funds at our last meeting are still bewildering to me. We had put this from cash capital at the post-public hearing meeting. And then once, and that was a higher amount than we had discussed with, and we heard from all the school community. And then we removed it in the spirit of this budget tonight, in the spirit of trying to listen to the will of the voters in terms of the 5941 town referendum where our budget lost. So we would be adding back that 362, as you said, and thereby increasing our mill rate commensurate with that. My fear is that if we do that, well, of course, I know the schools have as much money as we can afford, is that will not be acceptable to voters. Any other comments from anybody?
Could I just ask Kevin what the tally is from the savings on the town side this evening? Like, did you keep a tally of what are our cuts total?
I don't, but I don't. I have a running list. I can add up real quick.
430,081.
Wow.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Sounds reasonable.
430,081 right now.
There's actually two that are taking tallies and this is going into the area.
Thank you for keeping track.
So, Mr. Chairman, I guess I would just like to say, because I appreciate your comments, but I think what we've done tonight is drive more balance, right? I think the voices that we've heard, whether they were here tonight, whether they were in our emails, whether we were at Stop and Shop and having discussions, the message was that the town was growing too fast in their year-over-year growth, and that tonight I think we demonstrated we brought those costs in, and they more than cover Lauren's proposal to get back to the school, to get them where they were. So I think we have done the work to strike a balance, a little better balance, and I believe there's now potential for this to have a favorable outcome.
Any other comments?
I agree. I think Kim said it more eloquently than I could. I think the feedback I've received has been that there hasn't been a fair balance between the cuts that were made on the town side and education side. I think the Board of Ed came up with a proposal after the cuts that were received that preserves staff and less of an impact on our students. And so I'm in favor of restoring that 362, knowing the cuts that we made this evening with the town.
Noted. Thank you. Further discussion from anybody, please? Okay. Motion on the floor is to add an additional 362,951 to the town education budget, getting there to a grand total of 66,289,836. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion fails. Are there any other discussion items on Board of Education funding? Okay. So then we have Kevin to vote on the final budget totals for the town referendum next week, please.
Total budget is $101,365,569.
And can you tell us what that does to mill rate, please?
Mill rate is 9/10 increase, 3.21%, new mill rate would be 28.91.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I try again? Can I try again? I would just like, in the spirit of trying to find a compromise, I make a motion to restore $200,000 to the Board of Education.
Moved and seconded to add $200,000 to the Board of Education, which is 5,995 within the 154,700 budget, bringing us to $66,126,885. Discussion, please.
my comments remain the same. I think any amount we can restore will be beneficial to the schools and to our community, and so I'd like to see if we can do that. My comments remain the same from the previous motion.
Any other discussion? Motion on the floor is to add $200,000 to the Board of Education funding, 59995, for the 154700 budget. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Motion fails. Is there any further discussion on Board of Education funding?
Still better than where you were Tuesday. That's okay.
Keep going. You can do better. You can do better. Keep going.
I'm going to make a motion and then maybe we can discuss. I make a motion to restore $100,000 to the Board of Education.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, move the second to add $100,000 to Board of Education funding, 59995, with an item 4054700, which would bring us to $66,026,885, or a 4.42% increase compared to last year. Discussion, please.
Could I make a comment? As ex officio?
I would love you to make a comment.
Can we see the mill rate increase? Can you just flip the screen up? So this compromise appears to achieve two things. It restores a little bit more to the Board of Ed. It still keeps the mill increase below 1.94, which I think is a reasonable compromise, and also, I think, will increase the probability of this budget passing. So I would offer that.
Any other discussion of this proposed increase?
Can I just say one thing really quickly as president of the PTA? I just want to say one thing.
Sorry.
Sorry. It's okay.
Any other discussion? Sandra, you seem like you want to say something.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question. So it's 0.94.
The question would have to be public.
Yeah.
The question would have to be public. The question has to be public.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just wondering what the amount would be if we raise the mill increase just to 1.00. What would that amount be going back to the Board of Ed? Kevin?
Working on it.
Stand by.
Just trying to get down there.
Yeah.
There you go. 185,000. On top of the 100, so 285. You haven't voted on the 100 yet.
So, I mean, the motion on the floor right now is to restore $100,000, and we just heard our first selectman in support of that. I'm cognizant of the magic of 29, and if we can keep it under 29, I think that, in my naivete, may be a number that is more acceptable to voters. So I was planning on voting yes on this $100,000 increase. Anybody else want to comment?
You repeat that again? Yeah, I didn't hear what you just said, Scott.
I'm going to vote yes.
You're going to vote
$100,000 increase. I'm not likely to vote yes on something that gets us to over a 29, no way.
So you're going to vote against it?
I'm going to vote, the only amount, the motion on the floor is $100,000 increase, and I'm going to vote for it.
So you're going to vote for it?
I am.
Kevin votes
And Dan is expressed as you.
Yep.
I'm not in favor of sending this hypothetical question. Do you want
So
anybody else?
you're in favor of the $100,000?
Yes, I am.
Again, then Lauren was too, and Dan is too.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Just after this vote, which I think we're going to affirm, could you let us know how much was cut from both sides from our original budgets, please? But let's have our vote.
Is there further discussion on the $100,000 increase?
I guess I will fall in line with your leadership and Dan's leadership on voting in favor of this with reservations. Following this funding, following the work that's going through, I've done a great deal of research on the return on the investment in the performance of schools. And the latest study I looked at indicates that in East Lyme, since 2015, in spite of hundreds of thousands of dollars, an increase in the budget, the reduction, there's been a 0.8 reduction in reading across the schools, grade level reduction in reading across the schools. There's been a 0.5 grade level reduction across the schools in math. And so I don't have confidence that by restoring more funding, we're going to get necessarily an increase in student learning. And so I'll vote for this with the optimistic hope that maybe the amount of money in the school budget that goes to non-instructional costs could be reduced, and there would be much, much more increase in funding for the great work that the teachers are doing. And so I think that we have to get more of an emphasis on advancing student learning in the schools so that we reverse the declines in achievement and learning that is evidenced by the studies of the performance of students in East Lyme schools. So I will vote for in favor of the $100,000 with that.
Is there further discussion? So the motion on the floor is to add $100,000 to Board of Education funding, item 59995, within a 154700 budget, getting us to a total of 66 million and something. I don't see it. 66 million. 26,885. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All those abstaining? The motion carries. All right. Is there further discussion of the Board of Education funding? If not, I would like to do what Richard has asked and get us to the final numbers.
All right, Rich, on the downside, Board of Finance just cut $342,086. Board of Ed side added $343,060. The reconciliation piece is you cut cash capital by $100,000. So this budget was, budget as of, earlier tonight was $101,564,595. The budget is now $101,465,569, a reduction of approximately $100,000.
And the town operations budget increase is 7.77%, and the Board of Education operations increase is 4.42%. I mean, I think I'm certainly aware of all the comments made tonight in the emails about the importance of reducing town operations to something more commensurate with the Board of Ed. Although we did get 4.4%, I think this seems reasonable given the challenges that we have in funding all of our town services. Okay. So I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve our $101,465,560.90 proposed budget for 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Moved and seconded to approve the final budget of $101,465,569. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Kevin, do you have anything else?
I don't think so. Oh,
That's okay. I think you just need another motion to send the revised spending levels and submit the revised budget to a referendum on June 4th.
Happy to do that.
Okay.
Okay, our town council has advised that we need a motion to send this revised budget expenditures to town referendum on June 4th. Right?
Yes.
It's been so moved, has it been so seconded?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Kevin, are we done? All right, let's go to board comments. Anybody? I would just like to thank members of the public for being here tonight, for all your input and feedback. I think it was clearly helpful to us in our deliberations. I know it's not easy always to come to the mic when you're not necessarily comfortable with that. I appreciate all the people who have made comments and emailed to us, talked to us and Stop and Shop. I want to also thank Jeff for your guidance and leadership on this all through this whole process. I do think that we are working better together in the Board of Finance and the Board of Ed, and I hope that continues, I'm sure. And I want to thank Dan for always being our wise leader and giving us guidance about things that we don't fully understand as well as you. Appreciate that. Thanks to our town council for being here tonight for these thorny questions. And really, really thanks to Kevin for managing so much. Thanks to the board for staying engaged in a challenging budget year, and I'm quite pleased where we got to. I hope that you all feel satisfied also, and I think we're completely proud of how we have done everything we can to sustain the town, work on debt, sustain the schools, make sure that police and fire and all of public safety is funded. Something I'm really proud of.
Just one moment.
Okay.
I'd like to compliment Lauren on her persistence and willingness to compromise.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye.